Honestly, Sakamoto Days is pretty fun.
I used my strength to hurt people too.
You know, back in the day.
I don't want you near my family. But then, I made a choice. To use it to protect the people I love instead.
The worst of the worst feared you. They called you the legendary assassin. The news a big fat joke.
Sometimes you have an anime where you can just sit down, relax, and not take it too overly serious. And then there's also the time where it does get a little bit serious, and you can have an enjoyment with that little bit of balance, a little bit of relaxation, and a little bit going back to what's most important. I think Sakamoto Days does a perfect balance of that. In one moment, we could be talking about the overarching insanity that is the assassin world, and then the next moment, we could just be gambling, trying to obtain information. But before I get into the show, really, I should at least get into the story first. So the story first starts out with an assassin named Sakamoto, right? Now Sakamoto is one of the best assassins in the entirety of the world, but the issue is he falls in love. He sees a lady at the cashier, falls for her, and when he falls for her, he gets a family and he completely quits the assassination business. But when Sakamoto leaves, he doesn't really tell anybody. So basically, they go after Sakamoto after a certain point of time. They're like, okay, find Sakamoto and kill him. The person that they want to do for this job is an assassin by the name of Shin that worked with Sakamoto a few times. Now Shin is a clairvoyant, so he can just read people's minds, but Shin actually is not good enough to kill Sakamoto. So when he finds out he's not good enough to kill Sakamoto, he's like, I'm sorry, I'll just have to go back empty-handed. Side note, he also really admires Sakamoto, which is really nice to see, and also he really likes that he has a family. So he goes back empty-handed to this warehouse of the people that told him that, hey, you have to kill Sakamoto. When he comes back empty-handed, he says, please take my life, don't take Sakamoto's life. He has a really beautiful life with a really beautiful family. And the guy's like, yeah, sure. But Shin reads his mind and sees, oh, he's lying, he's gonna kill me, and then he's just gonna go after Sakamoto again. So Shin actually goes ahead and starts killing everyone in the warehouse, but by the time he's almost done, he actually gets cornered, but Sakamoto comes by and actually saves Shin with a no-kill policy. He actually doesn't kill a single person, knocks them all out, and takes Shin back with him to his actual department store called Sakamoto, and he actually picks him up and he becomes one of his employees.
You have been promoted. You are now one of my elite employees.
One of the first things I do want to talk about when it comes to Sakamoto Days is what I alluded to earlier, but I'll just call it a tug of war when it comes to the idea of us talking about the main overarching story, but also talking about the other characters and sort of fleshing them out. It does a beautiful job of doing that. For example, when we try to flesh out Shin a bit more, when we talk about his past and all the people that were around him inside this laboratory when he first got his powers, we also find out all the people that were held hostage in that area are being held by captors that are from the main overarching villain of this series. Another thing I have to give it kudos for is the fights slash the comedy, and they sort of mix really well together. But what I do have to say about the fights when we do see them, they're really over the top, and they kind of remind me of One Punch Man to a certain extent, because this guy is completely overpowered in the assassin world, even though he's 5 years into retirement and also is a bit overweight, but also has a transformation that can make him skinny again. This is a very weird show, ladies and gentlemen.
But not by regular anime standards.
Then there's also another similarity when it comes to One Punch Man. You have the other side characters kind of shine when they have their own fights, and you see like there's a bit of a struggle. Like you can see like maybe one side can win, the other side could lose. But Sakamoto, at least bare minimum, the fights are a lot more dragged out than a One Punch Man. There would be like one punch obviously, but with Sakamoto it's a lot more like going back and forth. And another huge difference that I think is going to happen is that Sakamoto is actually going to be tested very soon in the anime. At least whenever we get a season 2 or a core 2, we're going to see him be tested to a higher degree with higher level assassins. But going over the main cast and me surprisingly liking them a lot, which is one, we'll just go over Sakamoto. I love him a lot. He's just a family man. He just wants to chill, be with his family, raise his daughter, and just be there in her life as well as his wife's life and run his store. That's literally all he wants to do. He doesn't really give a fuck about the assassination lifestyle anymore. But him also feeling like he's like the second chance king. He always gives someone a second chance most of the time when he sees there actually could be good in them, or they actually feel sorry for the actions that they have done to him or anyone that's around, seeing how completely changed his heart is from the here and now from the past. Then there's Shin. I feel like Shin is a bit of a cool guy. I do love the idea that he's a clairvoyant, and that idea of him being a clairvoyant makes a really cool fight scene. Actually, really cool 2 fight scenes that happen in the show where he uses that to his advantage, and him and Sakamoto do a tag team type of style of fight, which I don't want to spoil completely, but that's still a cool thing nonetheless. But Shin always feels like a cool guy that that also has the most gags done to him. Whenever it's something mean, rude, or crude, or fucked up going to happen, it usually always happens to Shin in a comedic effect.
Kids these days, you get lightheaded in there? Embarrassing for such a young...
Oh, it's freezing!
I can never relax around you because I don't know if you're reading my mind or not.
With him also just having that balance of something fucked up, but also him being a cool guy. And whenever he's cool, he's really fucking cool, I have to admit. It's also quite easy to understand why Shin just joined Sakamoto so easily, seeing that as the show goes by, we see that Shin has a heart. He always was kind of a good person deep down inside. He just had to kind of pull or tug just a tiny bit. Make him a little bit more similar to Sakamoto in that way, just on top of him admire him all the time. Then there's also Lu. Now, I like Lu, especially because she's like a bit of a drunken master. Whenever she gets the liquor in her, she can be a happy drunk, a sad drunk, or a mad drunk, or whatever the case may be. Seeing that she has a whole bunch of potential, and especially had the way that she fights. But the issue is we haven't seen a lot of her ever since we saw those capabilities. I know for a fact we're not gonna just sideline her and let her just be a nothing character, or her just being there to sit there and not really do much, because she seems to have a lot of potential, and also she seems pretty cool itself. But I want to see more of her. But her as a person, I really do like her as well, because she's a nice person. Whenever she does something mean, she's like, oh fuck, maybe I should like think about what I'm doing, or should I apologize to this person. And also seems to be with Sakamoto's daughter as well as Sakamoto's wife, kind of protecting them or distracting them a little bit here and there when there is a little bit of danger, which is kind of sweet and nice. Now, before I get into the last character I want to talk about, I do have to admit I do have a flaw in myself. I do have a weakness in my heart. The tnjugo's heart, he has a weakness right here, right where his heart is sitting.
Alright, we get it!
I am a sucker for dumbass and badass characters. I will admit that hands down. There's always something about them and how stupid they may be, or how strong and cool they may seem off. But this all applies to fucking Kisuke. Kisuke is a dumbass made up of dumbasses. Now, Kisuke is only good at one thing specifically, and it's sniping. He can snipe his ass off, but he is terrible at everything else. He can ricochet bullets with his sniper and do so much with his sniper itself. But if you boil him down, he's just a broke idiot most of the time. He's so fucking real. He seems to be like a good guy with a good heart, but just in the wrong place. Not in the terms of him being an assassin, but him trying to prove himself to other people when he doesn't have to prove anything. As long as he knows he's good and he's great on his own, then that's the only thing that matters. And with him having really nobody but his bird, he can actually find a family and a home with Sakamoto and everyone else that is in the grocery store. But I highly suggest Sakamoto Days, especially if you want to have a good show story, but also have something that is developing to something bigger by the time we get to it. Highly suggest Sakamoto Days. A very, very good show so far, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. But other than that, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!